Thank you. It's been a great pleasure to share some of the experience we have in Taiwan. I think I'm a trained hydraulic engineer. I've been teaching in National Taiwan University for 30 years already. And meanwhile, I have a privilege to work for the government. I was a Director General of Water Resources Agency, Vice Governor of New Taipei City, a city of 4 million people, and Minister of the Interior and Minister of Public Construction. So I always management to have 2 full-time jobs. So this is a problem we are facing. This is the earthquake. A scale 5 and larger earthquake happened in the last 100 years. Tell us there's not a single place in Taiwan is safe. But we have 23 million people live in such a crowded island, so what can we do? And typhoon. How many typhoons we have per year? Average 4.5. Can be 6, can be 7, depends on how lucky and how unlucky we are. An earthquake can destroy a reservoir. A reservoir will leak 20 meters. And then what happened? And the house turned upside down. So every earthquake, we have to upgrade our construction code. And now we do not very concerned about the built after 99. But we are very worried about the building constructed before 99. But we are talking about millions of the houses. The government wants to solve the problem. The next dilemma is how much money we are going to spend. Do we have that much money? Of course, Taiwan is a very small island, and it's very rare that we have 100 mountains up almost close to 4,000 meters high. It's a very steep mountain. Our river is very steep, so our river is about 100 times the river of Mississippi, the slope of the river. So every year we have 90 billion tons of water pour on this island, and yet we are short of water. And this is our statistics. In the past, every 90 years we are going to have a severe drought, but now every 2 years we are going to have a severe drought. In the past, every 70 years we are going to, the flood, 90 years dropped to 2 years, and the drought, the frequency of the drought drops from 17 years to 9 years. So flood or drought, nothing in between. Extreme weather condition in Taiwan become normal. What should we do? The dilemma in our water sector is we don't know how to define so-called 200-year flood. Theoretically, it will happen every 200 years, but now in Taiwan, it can happen twice a year. And it's a very young geological situation in Taiwan. Our mountain is still growing, but that's not a problem. The problem is we build a road and we believe the engineer can solve the problem. Now engineer cannot solve that problem. So in Taiwan, we have to live with the nature. We are now promoting so-called non-structural measures instead of structural measures. And an earthquake can destroy most of vegetation cover in the central Taiwan area. It takes 20 years to reach another equilibrium. So the problem is, do we have a wisdom to live with nature? And this used to be our miracle. Our agricultural miracle. We can plant all kinds of beautiful fruits and vegetables, but this is a price we pay. But in Taiwan, we decide we are not going to do that anymore. But it's easy to say, very difficult to implement. If you reallocate those farmers to the urban areas, how they can live. And our mountain area, we decide, so we try to reallocate those people, let them live in a safer area. And reservoir sedimentation is a very, very serious problem in Taiwan. We have already lost 1/3 of reservoir capacity. So in Taiwan, every year now, we are short of 2.6 billion tons of water. But by the year 2030, 14 years from now, we are going to lose 50% of our reservoir capacity. Means Taiwan will be short of 4 billion tons of water. Now we decide we are not going to build any more reservoir unless we can recycle most of the water, of our wastewater. So instead of building another reservoir, now our policy changed. we decide to recycle our water. If we after recycling all the water, when we are still short of water, then we consider build another reservoir. And then subsidence due to overpumping of the groundwater. Now, 1,800 square kilometer of the sea level is now below, our ground is now below sea level. This place 3.2 meters below sea level. So that subsiding is a very serious problem in Taiwan. And since we have pumped most of the aquifer in the coastal area, salinity intrusion become very serious. In Taitung area, 5 kilometers away from the coastal area, now the water is salty. So actually, the food security it's not just a safety problem. We are talking about food security. And food security is something we are very concerned. And the high-speed rail was in danger. Now the land subsidence moved inland, and the place the high-speed rail passed was subjected to 8 centimeter per year subsidence. So when about 6 years ago, at that time I was a minister in charge of public construction, I chair an interministry commission. We come up with an action plan. We have successfully sealed 1,000 deep wells. According to those action plan, 1 year from now, part of the place, the subsidence rate will drop to below 3 centimeters. 5 years from now, we solve the problem. But I want to share this experience is any problem in Taiwan, 5 ministries, at least 5 ministries involved. And the the policy always conflict with each other. So when I used to work in Taiwan, I always talking about 2 terminology. We call it inter-ministry cooperation and interdiscipline dialogue, because there are so many disciplines involved. And this is the river in the Taitung area. This is the river before typhoon, and this is the river after typhoon. Engineer cannot recover from this situation back to this situation. This typhoon, you know how many rainfall drop in Taitung area? 3 days, 3,000 millimeters. 3 meters rainfall in 3 days. It will happen every 2,000 years. Happen every 2,000 years. But the problem is also another problem. I call it institutional problem. This was the jurisdiction of Taitung County. But Taitung County, they only have 4 engineers, 4 hydraulic engineers. Our government give them 2.6 billion NT dollars, ask them to restore, but they don't have a capacity. So in Taiwan, we have to very seriously discuss what is the right number of our local government. And can every level of government have the capacity to solve their own problem? So actually, capacity building of local government is also very important. We have to make sure that you have the jurisdiction and you have the capacity to solve your own problem. And this is our reconstruction. This road was destroyed by earthquake in 1999, 2005. We have another road, 206 collapse again, 205 collapse again, and 206 we have another new road. Every collapsion, couple of people get killed. Every rebuild, we have to spend billions of money. Actually, our reconstructions for the last about 15 years, we have already spent 500 billion NT. How 500 billion is how much US dollar? 16 billion US dollar. And this is our reconstruction. Now in Taiwan, we decide, now we surrender. We are not going to do that anymore. We are not going to rebuild those kind of roads. But the problem is, yes, it's easy to say, it's very difficult to implement because there are people live in the mountain areas. How can we solve their transportation problem? And this is also a very typical example. A very beautiful mountain school and destroyed by Typhoon Herb. Typhoon Herb, 2 days, 1,800 millimeter rainfall. Will happen every 1,000 years. Then we have another school, 97, destroyed by earthquake, 99. And we have another new school, 2001, and destroyed by Typhoon Morak. And 2011, we have another new school. This story tells you Taiwanese, we are very tough. But here, the rainfall is 100,000 return period. This is 2,000 meter return period. And the return period of this 7.3 scale earthquake will happen every 100 years. So in here, this tells you when extreme weather condition become normal. What should we do? The challenge of our government is how can you make decision under uncertainty? And this used to be our proud. When I used to be a Director General of the Water Resources Agency, we protect the whole Taipei city, the big Taipei area with huge dike, hundreds of pumping stations, and hundreds of water gates. And we have one of the most accurate flood warning system. Actually, our university, our hydraulic lab, developed all the software and the hardware for this flood warning system. This was done in 1998. At that time, that was the most accurate flood warning system in the world. Yangtze River, 6 hours ahead, we exactly know the water stage, the velocity. And at that time, from my office in Taichung, through internet, I can operate the pumping station in Taipei, 200 kilometers away. That was it used to be our proud. So year 2003, I represent Taiwan to attend the Third World Water Forum. I present this project. All the developing countries say, wow, we Taiwanese, you are very, very great. You have such a big system. You know how much money we spend? We spend 250 billion NT. It's almost 8 billion US dollar to protect our capital. But at that time, my conclusion is, I think we were wrong. Why we were wrong? Taipei still get flooded. You have a rainfall over 2,000 millimeters, not much you can do. But you cannot say that 40 years ago, those engineers, they were wrong. Because 40 years ago, all the engineering sector in the world, we believe human being can conquer nature. 40 years ago, we cannot dream of there's a single typhoon that rainfall will over 2,000 millimeters. It will never happen. Now we put it back. If I were the minister, 40 years ago, we decide we want to try to solve the flood problem in Taipei, I will use so-called urban planning measures, non-structural measures, instead of structural measures. And this is called sponge city or called low impact development. I will show the story later. So Taipei got flooded, 2001. Half of the city of Taipei get flooded. But I can guarantee those things will never happen again because we have a huge dike, huge pumping station. It won't happen. The flood in Taipei, we call it local drainage problem. Local drainage problem, but away from Taipei, inundation and the local drainage problem get very complicated. So we are talking about paradigm shift. When you come to the global climate change, actually, when you do the special planning, you have to discuss all those items. Actually, not a single ministry can have a special planning. Actually, it's a whole cabinet, where every ministry, every discipline has to work as a team. And in Taipei 45, we have 1 million people. The big Taipei area, now we have 8 million people. If 8 million people live in such a small catchment area, of course you are going to flood. You are going to have a drought, traffic jam, air pollution, and high price of the house. So our government tried to solve the housing problem, water shortage problem, and the traffic jam problem. So when I used to work for the government, I talked to my colleague, that should be seen another way. We should reallocate 3 million people. We move our capital to the central part of the Taiwan. 3 million people leave Taipei. If we only have 5 million people, it's very easy to solve their problem. So now we are talking about how to smart use of our land. Instead of structure measures. If you believe engineering can solve that problem, I don't think so. And actually you have put all the eggs in the basket. What if a medium scale earthquake can destroy Taipei? Then the country will be in chaos. So, starting about 4 years ago, I asked my colleagues, try to calculate so-called carrying capacity. What is the right population from north, south, east, west part of Taiwan? Where is the location of our industrial park? Where is our commercial sectors? Now we are working on that. And there are so many ministries involved, so many disciplines involved. And about 4 years ago, when I used to be the Minister of the Interior, I asked my colleague, we should collect all the data scattering in different ministries, put them under our website. So 1 year, we have all the data under our website. And in Taiwan, we have so-called open data policy. Our data has to be transparent to our citizens. So if you should visit the website of our ministry, you type T-goals. All the data in Taiwan is under that website. But next step is you have to do data mining, decision supporting system, scenario analysis, policy, action plan, and budget allocation. Actually, using these slides, I told my colleague, politics need sound scientific backup. But you want to make a decision based on what? I mentioned I want to reallocate 3 million people away from Taipei. You based on what? You have the sound scientific backup. So this is a hazard map of a flood done by our Water Resource Agency. This is a hazard map of landslides. This is a hazard map of debris flow, used to scattering in the 3 different ministries. I call my colleague overlap those 3 maps. We call it integrated hazard map, done 4 years ago for the whole Taiwan. Then you see there's a lot of people living in a very expensive area. It's not safe. And lots of our government infrastructure is located in a not so safe area. So when we finish this map, I have a dilemma. What you are going to do with those information? Are you going to release those information? It will generate chaos. The price of real estate will be in chaos. So the government have this information. What should we do? So I sent it to the local government, asked most of the local government to look back into their urban planning. Actually, in the future, our land use will be according to the different degrees of disasters. Now we are working on that, and our government will come up with a 20 to 30 years action plan, gradually reallocate our population, our industry to a safer area. And this is so-called low-impact development. In the past, the land developed from the left-hand side to right-hand side. Supposedly, most of water used to be preserved underground, now it's become runoff. The developer making a lot of money, and government end up have to clean the mess. So 4 years ago, I changed the law. If the developer wants to develop from left-hand side to right-hand side, he has to make sure not a single drop of the water more can be released from his catchment. Now it become law. So this is what I call it low-impact development. There are so many low-impact development, for example, detention basin, bioswale, rain garden, previous parking lot, low-lying park, things like different. There are more than 11 different low-impact elements. And actually, this was my student's PhD thesis. How to design a city, a sponge city that can preserve most of the water underground. Actually, it's very difficult hydraulic simulation. There's a very difficult hydraulic simulation, but I'm not going to talk about the detail. So in the past, the concept of city planning is city become bigger and bigger, and the runoff become bigger and bigger. Government is busy building big canal. Canal become bigger and bigger, and still the city get flooded. So my concept is the green spot is detention basin, catchment, bioswale, rain garden, from small catchment to medium size of catchment to large catchment. Using urban planning measures to solve city urban flood problem. Easy to say, very difficult to implement. In the ministry, 3 ministries involved. In a city government, 5 bureaus involved. In a university, 3 disciplines. Urban planner never talk to hydraulic engineer. Hydraulic engineer will not touch the issue. So actually, it's a green area. So actually, engineer-wise, it's not a big deal. But actually, interdiscipline dialogue, interagency dialogue is the key factor of the successful. So our future city will look at this. Actually, our hydraulic lab, we run hundreds of hydraulic model studies. We come out with a Bible to design all the elements. So in the future, our government will release the Bible and become law, become compulsory. Our future development will be based on that. Of course, all the countries doing that. Singapore, Germany, Stockholm. And this slide will tell you in the past, this is your drainage system, very expensive. But if you manage to preserve some of the water underground, then the investment of your drainage system will be very limited. So I call it best management practice. You have an amount of money, how can you make the most out of it? And if you preserve most of the water underground, actually you are going to create a good ecological system. Actually, I taught some of my developer friends, by doing that, actually the price of your house can sell better. And we try to recycle most of our wastewater, actually, and as I mentioned, Taiwan will be short of 44 billion tons of water. But every day, we treat our wastewater and just dump it. Every day we dump 2.65 billion tons of treated water. We never bother recycle it. But why we don't recycle it? Because we treat the water and dump it. That's the jurisdiction of Ministry of the Interior. Water recycling, the Ministry of Economic Affairs. 2 ministries never talk to each other. So about 4 years ago, I asked my colleague from Ministry of Economic Affairs and Ministry of Interior, I told my staff, release the water we are going to give away, ask the Ministry of Water Resource Agency try to recover. So if we manage to recover 50% of those wastewater, 2.85 tons per day, that's 10 million people's water usage per day. If we manage to recycle at least 50%, even just 50%, we can solve our water shortage problem already. So 8 demonstration projects. Some of the project will be done next year. So now water recycling becomes our priority. We try to recycle most of our wastewater, then we come up with our water recycling industry. So solve our problem and go to China, make money. Because the country short of water pollution is China. So this is something now we are working. And in the past, we blindly believe, we call it concentrated wastewater treatment system. But this system was so expensive. So 90% of the wastewater was not treated because most of the country, most of the city cannot afford. But this system is good for the urban area. How about the rural area? Is this possible? Is it feasible to have a system like that? So by the year 2000, I started thinking about how about constructive wetland. So again, this is the thesis of my PhD students. We built 8 hectares of constructive wetland, a lot of vegetation cover plants, and this is a polluted canal. I divert the water, let the water go through our constructed wetland and stay for 4 hours. I can remove 85% of the contaminant. I replace a concentrated wastewater treatment plant. I only spend about 50 million NT. That's 50 million. 500,000. 17,000 US dollar. US dollar. 17,000 US dollar.
No, 170.
170 US dollars. Anyway, it's very cheap. I spent
the earlier quote and the
anyway.
is $100 million for whatever spending on your grand scheme of things. $1 billion is 10 CE.
Oh, never.
All right.
It's a very small amount of money. I managed to treat 5,000 tons of wastewater per day. And become a very mature design code, so I bring it to New Taipei City. This site treats 14,000 tons of wastewater per day. And this is the habitat area of the birds. You go to my wastewater treatment plant, they don't have a bad smell. And this site treats 20,000 tons of wastewater per day. So when I used to work for New Taipei City government, I create 300 hectares of construct wetland. We treat 300,000 tons of wastewater per day. I save 90% of the construction budget. I create 300 hectares of the parks and give it to our elementary school for environmental education. So our environmental education is one of the best in Taiwan, even in the world. So, and this is a project called the Urban Renewal. It's a heavy polluted canal. Most of the sewage of the city of Xinzhuang come to this canal. It's a very bad smell. And I asked when I become the vice governor, I told my colleague, within 4 years, I want this canal become a canal with clean water. How come I'm so confident? Because I'm a hydraulic engineer. I have all the layout in the mind. It's very easy. You build a two-piece box cover, intercept the sewage, and divert it to the wastewater treatment plant here, and put it back. As simple as that. It was used like this. After 4 years, like this. Water become clean. Government spent 2.3 billion NT. After we do that, the price of the house increased 3 times. The price of the land increased double. Generate lots of revenue. Like this. A lot of fish and the tree and the grass and even evening time. It's even more beautiful. But I want to share is interdisciplinary dialogue. It's not a big project. It's actually not a big deal. But there are so many bureaus involved. I was the project manager of this project, and those 10 director generals, they have the meeting with me every 2 weeks. It's very easy. In my meetings, it's very easy. Actually, it's not a big project. The problem is there are so many cutting-edge problems. My job is facilitate a dialogue among different bureaus. I try to solve the cutting-edge problem. So this is called interdisciplinary dialogue. And I make experiments. The decision-making is from bottom up, not from top down. We call it participatory decision-making. This is the very first experiment we done in Taiwan. So I spent 100 hours to the city of Xinzhuang, talk to the citizens, share them my vision. The very first day I told them that you live here, I don't live here. You better be more concerned. This is your project, not my project. You made the call, I did not make the call. So this is the very first project. The decision making is from bottom up. 4 years, no protest, no conflict, everybody worked the time, not a single day delay. Okay. And the only project in Taiwan run by internet. I asked my colleague, everything is on the website, transparent to the citizens. I asked the Director General of our Water Resource Department, if any citizen should raise any question within 7 days, you have to answer his or her question. If the question is constructive, give it to architect, integrate to the design. So it turned out to be the most advanced theory can be applied in Taiwan. And this is a slum area. After we spent 100 million NT, it will look like this. Totally changed. And When I become a minister, I told most of the mayor that in New Taipei City we have a good example. If a proper site in your city, you can raise. We can pay the design fee and the construction fee. We can negotiate. The very first project in the Zhongli area in Taoyuan, actually the whole canal was covered. Water polluted and covered for 20 years. We cannot solve that problem. But now we opened it, and now it looks like this. Actually, it changed the whole fate of the city and it generate a lot of revenue. And this is the wastewater treatment plant. This part is the wastewater treatment plant. So all pebbles are using the microfilm, the pebbles that can treat wastewater. And for the land subsiding area, again, this is placed 2.6 meters below sea level. Those houses, the first floor, after 4 years, become basement because the land subsiding rate is very significant. And their home, almost nobody want to buy their house. The land is of no value, and every farmer. This is actually aqua farming is very popular here. They have to spend 10 billion NT per year to buy the small fish. Then if they get flooded and the people broke, but want to solve that problem, what can you do? Again, dialogue. I went to Jiayi area 40 hours, talk to the farmer. This thing, how can you talk to those farmers? They cannot even speak Mandarin. They don't have a basic knowledge. But you cannot just go there and say, hey, you should stop pumping water, because that's the only way they can live. If you ask them not to pump water, then how they are going to live? So I want to solve this problem. Actually, it's not structural measures. You have to redesign the village. You have to create. At the first time, you have to solve their problems. We call it planning. In the past, we give this project to Water Resource Agency. Water Resource Agency, we are all engineers. So only solution we have is pumping station, water gate, dike, nothing else. But then it's exciting. No matter how much you spend, you invest, after 4 years, all in the sink. So we give this to the urban planner, redesign the city. So those people give their land to the government, they take 50% back, we hold 50%. I turn my 50% into detention basin. The very first phase of the detention basin I built for them is 50 square kilometer. Huge detention basin, 8 Xihu, the waste lake, 8 waste lake. I built 8 Xihu for them. I immediately solved the flood problem. They will become the most beautiful place in South Asia because all the migrants will come to this place. I take the soil from the detention basin and elevate the ground, and government compensate, build a house for them. We call it holistic approach, and teach them to live on tourism instead of aqua farming. So after we finish this project, the most difficult part is 5 ministries, 10 agencies involved. It took us 4 years. Took us dialogue among different ministries for 4 years. We finally decided, let's do it. But next time is when you start doing that, actually, again, inter-ministry dialogue, interdiscipline dialogue. But at least we come up with, I would say, we call it holistic approach. And disaster management. Actually, in Taiwan, 73% of our population are subjected to 3 different kinds of disaster. 90% of our people are subjected to 2 different kinds of disaster. Actually, this is the World Bank report telling us Taiwan is not safe. And in Taiwan, we call it natural hazard management. How to manage our disasters. How to prevent it from happening. If it should happen, how can we rescue? After that, how can we reconstruct? So when I become a minister, I established the whole commanding system from central government to state to township to village to community. I give the order to the Director General of our firefighting department. I told him that the mission I gave him is any single village, no matter how far and where it is, no matter what happened in typhoon, they have to have the capacity to survive by themselves at least 7 days. Why 7 days? Typhoon, the road broke, the bridge collapsed. Helicopter can enter the village 4 days later. If they cannot survive by themselves for 4 days, when government came in, not much government can do. So actually we call it capacity building of the village. And most of the information, most of the manpower, most of the resources are in Taipei. How can we make sure that the city, townships, village, they have enough capacity to survive by themselves? So I draw 7,835 disaster mitigation maps. Why 7,835? In Taiwan, we have 7,835 villages. Every village has one map. This map tells you how the debris flow will come. You should take which road to evacuate, and you want to rescue, which road you should take. And where is the location of the shelter? And every shelter, they have to have food for 1 month. And if you run into trouble, what's the person and telephone number you should call? And this is the equipment you should prepare, and this is some of the knowledge. Actually, I visit this tribe. Again, the chief, he very proudly told me that using this map, he grouped his villager into 8 different groups. When typhoon comes, one group watch the stage of the water, one group knock the door, one group evacuate the elder people, another group prepare the shelter. Using this map, he has already saved 32 lives. We call it grassroots activity. And this is a map done by the hydraulic lab of National Taiwan University, when I used to be the vice mayor. At that time, you told me in Xinzhuang area, we are going to have 600 millimeter rainfall. I open my laptop, I can tell you area, depth of the inundation area, how many people live there, their name, their phone number, their email. If there's elder people, we have a mark. So handicapped people, we have a special remark. And I asked my colleague, 30 minutes, you have to be there. Either stop pumping water or start evacuating people. So I can proudly tell you that ever since year 2006 here, last year, not a single casualty happened in Taiwan. So we have successfully combined the research from our water sector with our disaster management sector. And this is a landslide also in the new Taipei City area. So there is a landsliding area. NTU go there to the investment, and we do the debris flow simulation. This simulation tells you if you should run into a debris flow, you only have 3 minutes to escape. It comes so fast. Based on this simulation, we design our evacuation activity. Using this simulation, we design how to reconstruct. So this is done by NTU. And 3,835 maps. How can I done that within 2 years? Because this is not our firefighting department's expertise. And I'm running against time. I delay 1 year, more people get killed. So what should I do? I create a partnership from the university from north to south. They become the coach of our local government. For example, National Taiwan University, we are in Taipei area. We are the coach of Taipei and New Taipei. Central University, they are the coach of Taoyuan and Hsinchu. Cengkong University, we are down south. They are the coach of city of Kaohsiung and Tainan. So the university professor, our graduate students, help those local government to prepare the map, make sure they understand the map. So within 2 years, I created very strong partnerships. So when Taiwan comes, actually, we do the analysis for the mayor. According to our analysis, the mayor have the action plan. 2 years, we establish a very strong, I call this grassroots activity. So every year we have, around April, we have 2 training courses. One for the mayor. Tell the mayor if a professor give you an academic suggestion, how can you turn that into action plan? This is one training course. Another training course is for the professor. Speak the language people can understand. So we create a very strong partnership between the university and our local government. And communication. Actually, during the disaster, communication is very important. The Typhoon Morak, the problem we have at that time is 7 days. From a remote mountain area, 700 people get killed. We cannot reach them for 7 days. Not a single photograph can pass to Taipei. And that will never happen. All kinds of facility. And 2 independent satellite telephone. Ordinary time, every month, the whole nation talk with each other. I have to make sure the system works. Make sure that the tribe, the chief knows how to operate the satellite telephone. During typhoon season, every week, the whole nation talked. So now I can very proudly to tell you that Taiwan is the most typhoon-proofing or hurricane-proofing country in the world. 5 years ago, one single typhoon, 700 people get killed. Now drops to almost 0. For example, we just have a typhoon yesterday and day before yesterday. The rainfall is close to 2,000 millimeter rainfall, but we managed to drop the casualty into single digits. So,
where did the manpower rescue team assemble from?
Firefighting department. So actually, talking about the manpower, our ministry, we have rescue squad. We are firefighting agency, and of course our army. So always our rescue squad, they are the first line, task force. Then we send them the first, and then gradually, if we're short of manpower, then our army will step in. But our army, the officer, they have to receive the right training.
Central command.
Yes.
Center is operated
by me, Minister of the Interior. I used to be the commander-in-chief in charge of all the disaster management activity in Taiwan.
It wasn't existing before, or
it was scattering. Actually, it was scattering, and nobody wants to take the position. And when I become the minister, I said, of course, the law say I have the power, but you have the power. You have to establish the commanding system. You have to prepare all the maps. If otherwise, you are just talking about very loosely operation, but now it's not become a very solid operation. When typhoon comes, everybody knows which role he should play. So now the whole system is established. Now we try to establish a disaster management and research center in Taiwan, and hopefully serve the whole Asia country. Actually, those kind of operation, the Chinese government found that very interesting. So I was very busy help to train a lot of Chinese government officers to help them do the capacity building. So we build a platform, and then we try to integrate all the disciplines together to fight against the global climate change. So the conclusion is climate change not a problem waiting for a solution. It will not be a simple solution, Actually, we have to make sure that there's a lot of research has to be done. Trusted science. But when we're talking about science, we always say science, either engineer, a college of science or technology. But I told my colleague, actually 90% of our problem are political problem, not scientific problem. So we're not talking about the science. Actually, there are government ways of government operation, government organization, law, conflict. So actually, and also most importantly, we tend to forget financial arrangement. How to make the financial arrangement so and again the policy, informed policy. Policy has to be very clear. Because it's just I mentioned, one single problem, so many ministries involved. And the ministry and ministry policy always conflict with each other. And who is going to solve a cutting edge problem? And motivated business. Every business, every crisis is an opportunity. You want to solve the crisis, actually you can generate a lot of revenue. Motivated business. And engage public. Engineer, we are very afraid to talk to NGO, talk to environmental people. But now, instead of they protest when you start your construction, I would rather spend half a year to talk to you, to work as a team, so engage public. So the project I told you is inspiring project. 2 keywords, partnerships. The partnerships between our central government and the local government and government and our citizens. And also there are so many disciplines involved. How can different disciplines work together? So create a partnership from private to public to private citizenships. And by doing that, you can create a new leadership style. So we are talking about a new leadership style to handle such a complicated situation. So 3 keywords: integration, coherence, and governance. Simply, governance is not our Chinese. Integration and coherence is not Chinese culture. We don't use. We are not familiar working with among different disciplines. But something we have to change our culture. So always emphasize paradigm shift. Actually, now come to NTU as a professor again. Actually, we are not talking. We are trying to call it interdiscipline. We try to develop a curriculum among different disciplines. We try to prepare our students. They are hydraulic engineer. So when they graduate, they do not necessarily serve in the hydraulic company. Actually, they have to know ecology, they have to know urban planning. We try to provide those kind of curriculum for the students that are interested in those kind of curriculum. So, 1 o'clock, this is the end of my story. Thank you. Yes. No, I can't do it.
We're time for a few discussions.
Yeah, sure.
This is amazing. This is very interesting seminar. Beyond what exceeds my expectation. Despite the weakness, the frustration, disappointment with Taiwan's economic and political situation, actually, from your lecture, there's many good things that have happened and could be done more decisive, powerful, efficient way. I think we are probably running out of time, but we all come from Taiwan, most of us here, Asian, Chinese citizens. And we care for Taiwan's future. To me, the #1 issue is not economic, of course, political, but this unstable situation. We need to have someone under the leadership, under the inspiration that Taiwan needs better, secured environment, more prosperous activity that will transcend beyond all those garbages. Okay, and away from the city, there's lots of beautiful places, rural area, mountain area. I used to climb mountain, and when I was in Central University, and every time we went to Taiwan, we trying to be open-minded, trying to be fair, whatever. But once we left there, all it's crowded, overfilled the year. This is frustrating, not frustrating. So before I'm going on too long, I think it's things like what you have done. Taipei needs a super agency which can carry on the goals and mission to continuing do the better planning, redevelopment of this lovely place, not just city, regional wide, south or you cover too broad, too deep, too serious issue. I just recently heard the Boston is a lovely, beautiful city. We all are very proud of that. And the mayor just about to change, I don't know whether it's not central, at least 30, 40 years old, Boston Redevelopment Authority. Under their stewardship, Boston has been transformed through the public work construction, rise the freeway into the ground, the central outlet. It costs a lot of money, of course, public works costs money. But then rebuild the city. Now South Boston is going to be a rising, the secondary is not going to lead the city. The waterfront, the garden, the older buildings, almost 150 years old. Taiwan, we're talking, my background, some of the architecture and urban planning. It's not just urban planning. It's government. It's countries. In this case, national interest to put on more resources to treat well those engineers. They do the groundwork, solid work. So it has had a super agency, has appointed the leaders, the powerful people, like Professor Lee. And the rest of the management, presence, water, it's important, but this might be there's someone else who has already done that. So anyway, I'm very, very pleased, very happy that hopefully we can continue, we can hear from your intriguing, very
actually, this trip I came from DC to New York and to Boston. I talked to several federal agencies in the United States. Then I convinced them that part of our work in Taiwan is better than the capacity of your federal government. For example, the way you want to solve the problem in Louisiana, in New Orleans, actually we are very familiar with that kind of problem. About 10 years ago, of course, I graduated from University of Iowa, and we have very severe flood, 97 flood. The whole Mississippi get flooded. So Iowa gets a big grant. They want to build so-called Iowa Flood Center. I was the board member. At that meeting, I told them, we have done that 20 years ago. Because now we are good, because the problem we are facing is much bigger than the problem you are facing in the States. So we do have some successful experience we can share with our American colleagues. So actually, there's a lot of potential for cooperation. Yes, please.
Oh, Professor Lee, I found your speech to be fascinating and very exciting. I just wonder, do you may have a paper written somewhere or a transcript of your speech today, and plus some of the PowerPoint you grabbed? That would be wonderful.
We recorded the whole presentation, so if you want, we can send you the code. It will be put online in our website.
Oh, you'll be on our
Josh will record that and make it available to people interested.
Actually,
paper will be great.
not just paper, maybe reports or.
This is not a scientific paper because it cannot be SCI paper. No.
Sorry, I'll come to short.
Yeah.
Look like you have found the keys to solve.
Actually, I do have a book. I can give you a copy.
All right.
The title of the book called "How Can Government Be Smart?"
You haven't convinced me that the mother nature that occurred in Taiwan, flood, typhoon, earthquake, we only heard very bad
Yeah.
incidents and the damages. You think Taiwan is safer and is more capable of handling
Oh yeah, we are much safer. We are much capable. Yes.
another strong earthquake?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm very confident. Otherwise, the typhoon.
Highway just landed.
The typhoon yesterday and day before yesterday, casualty can be
But that
very
may be-
severe.
That may be just small,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes,
So I have a
please.
final question. So
Yeah.
you have mentioned a lot of data for the Taiwan university. So I just a question if like the U.S. universities can access the data such as
Oh, yeah.
seismic data, GPS data, and the building, maybe the building vibration.
Not the
data.
building.
Oh.
No, the data only from, for example, the landscape, the survey data, the precipitation, only for spatial planning. You visit our website, it's all there, because it's our law. Us as we have to do that.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
about the building vibration data?
No,
Oh.
that's not on our website.
Uh-huh.
But if you visit our research, earthquake research institute, yes, they do have data. But how comprehensive, I don't know, because I'm not in that field. But you need help, I can connect you to our earthquake research institute. Most of them are my colleague from our civil engineering department. But you are welcome to visit our center. Then you sense yourself. Then you are welcome to talk to them. They will be very happy to provide you with some of the useful information.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.